All right, we're going to go back to my sweet spot as an LSU football fan and in the media as well. Tony Moss played for the LSU Tigers in the late 80s, part of two SEC championships, and the team, or one of the teams that didn't win the SEC championship, went 10-1-1 and finished fifth in the country and beat South Carolina in the Gator Bowl. Tony, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing there?
I'm doing pretty well. We're getting ready for football. Are you excited? I mean, it's been a long time since you played, but when this time of year rolls around, do you get that excitement?
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. Can't wait to see the season kick off. Watched me a little high school football last night. So yeah, I'm very excited right now.
When you played, you were so dangerous when you got the ball in your hands. You had these spin moves. You were elusive. People couldn't get their hands on you. Have you noticed any LSU wide receiver in recent years that reminds you of yourself, or these guys just seem like they're all 6'1", 6'2", 6'4", and up?
Well, I mean, Jamal Chase, I really see, a lot of his running and his after the catch ability to, lose tackles and, I see a lot of him in me.
Yeah. Because when you played, right, your first couple of years, you're being mentored by Wendell Davis, Raji McGee, those guys kind of that were older than you. And then it was your time to shine. And you were a different wide receiver than Wendell. Wendell was a bit taller than you, but you were able to make it work. They listed you at 5'7", 5'8", Tony. How tall were you?
They were pretty correct. I go 5'8", with my shoes.
What about those guys that you played with, Wendell? And Wendell was from the Shreveport area, just like you, right?
Yes, sir. I mean, me and Wendell, I ended up playing him his senior year in high school, and then once we got to LSU, that's when we kind of really got a close bond. Being in the receiver room, working out in the summer, living together. Working, doing our skills. So, yeah, Wendell has been a big help, especially me adjusting from being a running back to a receiver during them early times.
Wendell and Tommy Hodson, they almost had this sixth sense, right? Like Tommy could get the ball out of his hands before Wendell made his break, and it was there. And they did so much work during the summer and whatnot. And then when Wendell left, it's like, oh, who's going to be the next guy? And then that's when you stepped in and you basically had back-to-back 1,000-yard years. What was your connection with Tommy, and how did you guys make that work?
It was just in the summer, like you said, putting in that summer work. After our jobs during the day, we go to the stadium and work another 2 to 3 hours, just running routes and getting our timing down.
The moves you made after the catch, did you work on those? Those were God-given, a little bit of both?
Basically, I mean, you asking me what was God-given or talent. I mean, I think it was kind of both. All my life, since I've been playing ball, I've always been able to, run with the ball in my hand, make elusive moves that, get me up the field. But, older I got, it's kind of like when I did my study and watching my film work, I kind of watched where a lot of the defenders come from so I can make them moves, prior to, or feel the sense of where people are coming to me or coming at me, while I'm having the ball. So it gave me a little sense of awareness that, Tony, can you do this spin move right now? Or, do I got 12 or 11 guys bearing down on me when I make this move, or should I just get on out of bounds and get what I can get? So, it was kind of like a sense of, being a running back once I catch the ball.
I'll just go through your last I'll just go through your last 3 years pretty quick, and you can kind of give me your thoughts on each year. We can talk about each year. 1986, that's Bill Ornsparger's last year, right? What were your memories of Bill Ornsparger?
I mean, he was a nice guy. I really enjoyed. That's why, with Bill, being a football player became a more serious, thought of mine once I got down to LSU. Pretty much business-like, nice guy, knew what he was talking about. So, me coming up from high school to college and in that atmosphere, just learning what I could from them. I mean, I really enjoyed them.
In 1986, LSU wins the SEC. They go to the Sugar Bowl to play Nebraska. An interesting year, some huge wins, and then the losses were like, oh, how did that happen? Like the Miami of Ohio game and the rain, right? And then, a chip shot field goal to beat Ole Miss, and it doesn't go through the upright. So looking back on it in the regular season, at least, I mean, it seemed like you were that close away to being undefeated.
Oh yeah, we were real close. I mean, the Miami, Ohio, I think it was basically lost on 3 plays, 3 long passes that got by. Our safety slipped probably twice. And, there you go. It was just one of them fluke games. And then, the Ole Miss was a pretty heartbreaking miss right there. But 86 was great here. I mean, I felt our team was we came together. We played as a unit. And coach, I think we knew coach was leaving after that year or sometime during that last final month. And, we just wanted to, have a good farewell and play hard for them.
And one of the teams LSU played that year in Tiger Stadium was Notre Dame. A close win by the Tigers, 21-19, I think it was.
Yeah. Them Notre Dame games, they were pretty tight. Is it 86 when Tim Brown was there as senior when he won the Heisman, or that was the next year?
I think Tim Brown won the Heisman in 87, but I guess he would have been on the team in 86. I'd have to look that up and everything. I just remember the score and everything. I didn't go to my first game until 1987, Tony. So those but I read about these games and whatnot. So 87, so Mike Archer becomes the head coach, and talking to Dr. Nacho Joseph Albergamo and some other people in the area and whatnot that were on that team. It was kind of like, we didn't want to screw up 1987. We felt like we had a chance to win a national title, so we wanted to keep everything kind of fluid. We don't need to bring in a new coach and a new staff. And so Archer takes over, and then you guys go 10-1-1 in 87. What were your memories of that season?
Oh, that was a very exciting team. Like you said, 10-1-1. It was, very close. I mean, we should have won the Ohio State coming down. We had a chip stop, but we kept on pressing. And then what was
Alabama? We lost to Alabama, the only loss, and Tommy Hudson didn't play until the end, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he got hurt the week before. Even though that game, it was, we lost by 14-10 somewhere. It was a close game that we felt that we should have won. But the exciting season, I know we had some great players on that team, guys that went on to play in the NFL. So I was very excited to be part of that team while I was there.
And the bowl game was very important as well, because we had talked to different guys that said, we had lost these bowl games to Nebraska. It had been so long since we won a bowl game, and really the team locked in and focused, and hey, we're going to do our best against South Carolina. And back then they had what's called the Black Death defense and all this stuff. And I guess they kind of brought the house at Hodson a couple times. He hit Wendell in a one-on-one situation. Wendell spins away, and it was over with. Caught 3 touchdowns that day, Wendell Davis.
Correct. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, that's all they talked about, their defense, all they do when it was going to come after us. But that game plan we had for them, probably one of the best games that we prepared for. The coaches had it, all well planned out. That we knew every move they was doing. It was just like taking candy from a kid. Really, we was Wendell was doing his thing. Defense was playing pretty good. That was an exciting game there.
1988, LSU opens up. They beat Texas A&M at home 27-0. You go to Tennessee and beat them 34-9. Then comes the adversity, the rough game. Ohio State, you guys had the lead, should have won. I think it was 33-20 with like a little time left. You lose 36-33. Yeah, heartbreaking game. Yeah, go ahead.
We played good. I mean, I think Tommy, both the receivers, we both had over 100 yards. I had a big family coming out of Indianapolis for that game, and I mean, had a pretty good game myself, but like I said, not coming out of there with a win was more heartbreaking than anything. But we did have them up. We was up probably, like I said, 13 with about 3 to 4 minutes left, and it was just a couple offense series at the end that we went 3 and out and didn't even really run no time off the clock, and that I felt kind of hurt us too. Let the defense on the island there.
Yeah, I think there was a block punt, then an intentional safety, and some other stuff. The late Ruffin Rodriguez swear to me that I think the guy's name was Carlos Groves, if I'm just grabbing that out of the air, the wide receiver that caught the last pass. And Ruffin said it was like a double dribble, Tony. Like, I mean, the ball hit the turf and, you know, all that. I've watched it. I think he caught it, but I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, Mike Mays, he was the one on that play, and he tells me, he swears down that he didn't catch that ball.
Okay.
You know, we talk about that too, because me and Mike, we get together and we go play golf, but he always said, man, that man didn't catch that ball. I said, yeah.
Long before
I wish we had instant play. Yeah.
Yeah. Long before instant replay in college football. So didn't look at it. So there's that loss, and you go to Florida, and the Florida game was just a nasty afternoon. It was hot. You're on that old turf, and 19-6, LSU loses. Tough day for Tommy. Let's see.
Yeah,
I'm running out of time here. But we may have to book another one here in a little bit. Anyway, so the earthquake game for LSU in Tiger Stadium against Auburn, in which I think LSU went, was it 11 or 12 quarters without scoring a touchdown to the final drive where you guys went down the field. Just your memories of that last drive.
It was exhausting. I mean, I can remember just, being in the huddle. We finally came together. We were determined. We went, about 3 fourth downs or something like that, that we converted. But that game right there, I mean, we just, as an offensive unit, pulled together and we hung in. And I know it was tough on Tommy because he was getting hit a lot, and that defensive lineman they had down at Auburn at the time was pretty tough. But coming out the win, and how loud it was. That's the thing. It was so loud at that time that was so loud at that time that you couldn't really think and couldn't hear nobody talking, but we were just celebrating, having a good time, and was real grateful for pulling that one out.
Yeah, I think it was a 3rd and 5 on that drive where the pocket broke down. Tommy stepped up and he threw a bullet right across the middle to you. I think it was like a 17 or 20-yard reception you made on that drive. That was big.
Yeah, I had a couple of receptions during that drive that kind of helped. I know I watched it not too long ago that if I could have just broke one, I could have gotten loose. But there's always that one last effort that defense give me where kind of trips me up. But yeah, that was a real memorable drive. I mean, that even the scoring, I think Tommy, we ran I think that last drive, well, the scoring series,
Eddie Fuller catch, yeah.
We wrote the same play 3 times in the 3 different versions, but in formation wise, and I know we missed it the first time, and then Eddie came back with the nice catch the last time.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think Eddie Fuller ended up with more touchdown receptions and touchdown runs. He was really a big extension of the passing game. He's a tremendous receiver. Yeah,
he was. I think me and him end up having the same touchdowns that year because he we fed him a lot in passing game, even though he was a great runner. He had good soft hands that you can get them up into the linebackers and into them seams that Ed could make them catches and make them plays.
Do you get sick of hearing about the earthquake game? Is it like, oh man, I played all these games in my career, it's always back to this one game? Like, like Hobson, for example, he won all these games, he threw all these touchdowns, and some people who didn't watch those games, they, oh yeah, he's the earthquake guy, you know.
I mean, I don't get tired. I know it's, it was one of the historical games with, at LSU, and I'm glad that I, participated in there. I can say that I was, was involved. But I'm not really tired of it. I'm pretty glad. I'm happy for the guys. I'm happy for, LSU that, we did pull out that win and to get our second SEC championship.
What are the emotions of when you win a game like that? I always think that it's almost unfair sometimes with the emotions in the big games to ask you to play a game even a week later. I think about when LSU beat Florida in 1997 and then lost to Ole Miss the next week. You won the next week, but it was like this root canal against Kentucky, right, in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, I remember that little stretch. For some reason, our offense was just struggling to score, and for our defense keeping us in games, that stretch was kind of not too fun at that time. Kentucky always played us tough though. And that was a nail biter coming, with that game the following week. It felt like, man, this 2 back-to-back weeks of, just slugging it out.
Yeah. Probably one of your biggest wins of the year that year, you go to Alabama and the game is a nightmare early. Like I almost want to turn this off, It was 15-0. It felt like 100-0, but you guys came back, won 19-18. You had a huge day that day. I remember too.
Yeah, I remember that game. We didn't start off too well at all. That defensive front was just coming at us with everything. But we settled down. I think our first drive, the score was with Mickey, because we bring in Mickey and our offense settled down. We make a great drive. We scored that first touchdown, so it kind of settled everything. Our defense started stepping up. We had this play, that touchdown you're recalling. It was that play we just put in that week, where me coming out of the backfield and going in motion, end up getting with the linebacker one-on-one, and it was just a great time to call it. Well, actually, we called it twice earlier in the game, but I think he got sacked. I mean, it was, we never even developed. And then the second time when I did score, just a great play, great timing, had great blocking downfield, and, rest was just history. I used my running ability, made a couple cuts, and made it to the end zone.
One summer, I think it might have been the COVID summer, I think I came across that game on YouTube and I watched the last 5 minutes, and it was almost a comedy of errors. I think both teams fumbled back and forth, and then Brown Dyke kicks the field goal, and then Philip Doyle, he hits one, and when I'm watching it on TV, I'm thinking this thing is good. It seemed like it was right at it, and it fell, I think, a little short, maybe to the right or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he had a strong leg. I think he tried a field goal earlier in the game too that barely made it. I mean, he had the leg. It was just right or left. That final drive when Brown Dyke, we got Brown Dyke down there, I made that long in route count that got us down there to field goal position. But that was a game that, was pretty tough, but it was a joyful win.
Yeah, it was a heart stopper. So there's this thing, Tony, people always say it never rains in Tiger Stadium. And this was quickly proven to be false, me going to games. At the LSU-Miami game, not Ohio, which rained, but Florida. I mean, that was a monsoon that night, wasn't it?
Oh, that was just terrible. I mean, even though they came in and being high ranked they were, I mean, I think pretty much the first 3 quarters we was battling it out. They really didn't score or, put the game out of reach till the 4th quarter. But, that rain was just coming. I ended up at halftime had to change my whole uniform it was so bad. I was, drenched head to toe.
Yeah, it seemed like you moved the ball. You just didn't score. Like you just couldn't get in the end zone.
20 to 20. Yeah, from 20 to 20, we were, moving it up and down. Once we got in the red zone, that's when we was having our troubles trying to get it in.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm probably 3 quarters. That's why I felt, we was right there in the game. A couple things would have happened. It would have been a closer game.
1989, of course, is a case of the game is not won on paper, right? I mean, going into the year, preseason expectations, Tommy Hudson, Tony Moss, Harvey Williams is coming back, Eddie Fuller, a lot of people, and it opening kickoff at A&M was a sign of things to come. Huh? It was a rough year in 89.
Yeah, A&M that year, that first game, I think we should have won that game. I mean, all they did was come at us blitzing, and I mean, if me and Tommy would have hooked up at least once or twice, that would have never happened. They would have stopped coming at us, but they had success coming at us at the end, and man, we did have a lot of returnees, but I think with that year, some of our starters, we were starting to get hurt. And, our backups really wasn't quite there ready to fulfill and keep that train going like the years passed, and kind of caught up with us.
Yeah. Well, it was a kind of a case of the plays you made late in the games and the close games that you won in 86, 87, 88, early in 89, it just didn't go your way. You had the Florida kicked a field goal at the end in Tiger Stadium. You had the Auburn game where they scored at the very end and Jordan Hare to win. And so I think, psychologically, when you're a college kid, you lose 3 or 4 games early by close scores, kind of hard to bounce back from.
Yeah, I mean, that year was tough. My senior year, we had high expectation coming in, preseason ranked, but losing some of our starters, like I said, early in the season, and just couldn't maintain that high playing ability that kind of, made us get into that little funk where, we were starting to lose. And I think that's the first time we ever lost like 3 or 4 in a row. And I don't know how many years. And then, we just, fought back what we could, even though, that was kind of depressing season, it was still memorable. I mean, we still had some good close games. We was in there. Nobody really just manhandled us and put us out, but we fought pretty hard.
I think it was the Tennessee game in Tiger Stadium. It was a day game like Jefferson Pilot or whoever was doing the 11:30 game. And I think Hodson threw for over 400 yards that game. It was just it was a track meet. You guys came up short. But
I ended up breaking my toe in that game. I got tackled early in the half. Matter of fact, I got a picture somewhere where I got upended and it looked like I'm landed dead on my head. It was kind of funny, but that one I ended up breaking my toe and come back, and I ended up scoring in that game. I had to change my cleats and wrapped it up and got me ready. But after that, weeks after that, my foot, I really didn't even practice, just play games, did a lot of treatment and, getting ready for the week.
Got you. Well, I can tell you're a good guy. You're not a diva. You weren't just like milking it, right? You weren't just like, hey, I play, but I ain't going to practice.
Nah, they try to keep me off my feet, but I was wearing sandals all the time.
Yeah, because I think late in the year, you guys kind of finally started winning some games. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tulane to close it out. It was just, I think you started 1-6 after all those close losses, and it's kind of too much to overcome. Well, I know you're watching from afar, but LSU's got a new head coach in Brian Kelly. He's really tried to flip over the roster with transfer portal and recruits and whatnot. How do you feel about this year about to kick off?
Well, I'm excited. I know our last 3 coaches won national championship. I give Brian Kelly the same type of opportunity. I think he'll get us there. I mean, he cleaned house, and it's going to ruffle some people's feathers, but he's a coach, so he feels, he has to do what he got to do, to bring this program back. I feel good. I mean, I think we still got some good, talented kids. Just hopefully that, they come together, play as a unit, and limit the mistakes. If they can do that, they'll be fine. I think, we'll have a good season, a good winning season that, people around will be happy with.
The offenses you played on, I consider those to be explosive offenses when I watched them at the time. But a lot of those scores, 13-10, 14-10. I mean, it was low scoring games. The evolution of football, when you watch a game these days, I mean, no one's going 3 and out anymore, and the games are not in the teens, right? What's it like watching modern day college football?
Oh yeah, it's fast paced. I mean, it still has my head to wrap around this no huddle and everybody get up to the line of scrimmage and look into the sideline. I'd be like, let's go. But it's the modern game. These kids, they get into them system, excuse me, early, and they just continue on up to all the way up to the pro level right now. With the no huddles and this fast pace, everybody looking to the sideline, signs up. I felt, even though we did that in a hurry up offense, but it wasn't to that level they do on every play they do nowadays.
Yeah. One thing Hodson told me was that when you guys played, it was the same 11 guys that would run on the field to play offense. Substitutions basically is what he was saying were one of the biggest changes in modern football. The amount of guys running in and out, and all that.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, it was just basically back then, especially when I was my first 4 years or even starting playing and getting on the field, was just basically 3 receivers coach used. And I was the one that brought the plays in, come out, we just substitute with the receiver. Nowadays, man, they just bring in a whole patch of folks and everybody just looking to the sideline and go. So it is a whole faster pace, but I enjoy it. It gives the superstars, the players, the playmakers, they give them a good highlight.
Speaking of superstars, Tony Moss, name, image, and likeness. Can you imagine back then saying, "Hey, Tony Moss, do you want to do a Pizza Hut commercial? You want to do a car commercial? You want to do this or that?"
I would have loved it. I agree with the players getting paid. I mean, it's been a long time, and I love it. I like some of the commercials that I've been seeing right now.
Yeah, but in the coldest Crawford, he's up from around there, isn't he? Shreveport area.
Yeah, he's right here up here in Shreveport, over here north of Green Oaks High. I seen his commercial. It's pretty good. I mean, their parents had must have been a fortune teller, because with that name, he's got a lot of looks and likes, and it's a great commercial, an air conditioning commercial at that. So
yeah. I was joking with Eddie Fuller. I was like, can you imagine after the 1988 Auburn game, the prices are so good, the earth is shaking down here at Jerry Lane,
Most definitely. Yeah, he'd have been plastered all over the city with commercials and highlights. So yeah, I'm glad for him. I wish he did it about 30 years ago, but hey,
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how do you think Bill Arnsparger would have handled all that, seeing his guys in commercials and stuff like that? He's a little old school, right?
He very old school. He was nonsense, boy. We was to the minute. Let's go, 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 go. You didn't know it. He was pulling you out.
Transfer portals is kind of a controversial topic. It can be, for LSU, it's a great tool to try to rebuild a roster that was kind of in bad shape after the Texas Bowl. But then there's also the flip side of, hey, sports is supposed to teach you about adversity, about fighting hard and not hitting the eject button just when things aren't going my way. Oh, I'm going to go here instead. And sometimes you bounce around from 4 or 5 schools and you never find yourself.
Correct. I mean, that's the part of, it's kind of and I feel like it kind of hurts our team. I mean, you recruit these kids, you put all this time, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're not getting their way, or, you know, fall short of their goals and just want to, you know, not keep pursuing and trying to get on that field and, you know, pursue their first goal is come to school and, you know, try to win championship, and they're not being able to get on the field, and, you know, they just not happy. They want to leave. I mean, I think that's kind of hurting our, you know, the college football, but again, I can understand because the coach can leave anytime and all that good stuff. But I think it's a little bit different when, you know, you're a student athlete and you're trying to, you know, come to a school and, you know, try to win there. And then kind of, I feel, sets the school back a little bit.
Well, you would be a prime example of that. 86, 87, you flashed here and there. You had some moments, but you were not a go-to guy. And then 88, 89, you paid your dues, worked hard, and then you became the man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how it was. I mean, with Coach Sullivan and the system we had back then, you know, he was going to, if you didn't work and prove yourself to be one of the top 3, 4 receivers to get on the field, you know, you weren't going to touch it. And then, you know, being the number 1 receiver, you know, you still had to work to be the number 1. That's how Wendell was doing it the first 2 years in 86 and 87. He developed and then became the number 1. So he was our go-to man. And I knew going into my junior season with me and Alvin Lee, it was going to be one of us. And, you know, I think it wasn't until the Ole Miss game when I felt like that's when things opened up for me. And I started breaking out and, you know, making plays, and they could count on you, you know, come making plays for you and trying to get you the ball. So, you know, I felt you know, I worked them 3 years to develop to try to be that number 1 receiver. And once I became that one, yeah, you know, I just still had to work, but you could see how they started, you know, trying to turn the offense towards you in the passing game.
Yeah. Old Jerry Sullivan was still coaching at LSU in 2018, I think, when they went to the Fiesta Bowl. And so people, is that the same? Yeah, that's the same guy, you know, back then.
No, Sullivan, he's a great guy. I mean, one of the best receiver coaches in the country. I still think he still helps out in the NFL. I mean, he's just don't know how to retire. He retired and he gets back be a consultant, because a lot of guys in the NFL, you know, come to him and he works them out, but teaches them, you know, all the passing games and releases that, I mean, he's been doing it for probably almost 40, 50 years now.
Yeah, I hadn't looked it up, but I remember, I think it was last year, I'm watching football, and I think he was with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. So, he's been there with several times.
So watching this LSU team, looking at these wide receivers, Tony Moss, LSU great, number 6, Kayshon Boutte, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, Jack Besh, Jeray Jenkins. You got a loaded room there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, but you're gonna need that many. And I think, you know, like they said, they're gonna find, you know, them a number 1. I know Boutte was hurt last year, but he had great numbers before he got hurt. I enjoy watching him. Kind of excited to see, you know, who else is gonna step up and see what type of offense you know, the Tigers gonna have this year.
All right. Well, I really appreciate
it.
What's that?
Go ahead. I said I came to the spring game to see, you know, what we had, and I like our running backs. They look good too, and hopefully they continue to do what they were doing this spring.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate this conversation, Tony. Thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a Tiger, and thanks for all the great memories.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me there. Go Tigers.